In 1966, 10 years after school integration, the United States Department of Education commissioned sociologist James Coleman and his team to study the state of education across the country with a special focus on the impact of various factors on scholar achievement. The study involved surveying over 600,000 students and teachers from more than 4,000 schools. Formerly known as the Equality of Educational Opportunity Report, it quickly took on a life of its own, and it's more commonly known as the Coleman Report. One of the most intriguing findings was after considering factors like family background, school quality, teacher quality, access to resources, integration, and socioeconomic status, among many others, the Coleman Report concluded that family background and socioeconomic status were by far and large the biggest influencing factors on scholar achievement. While the other factors mattered, they were completely dismissed by pro-segregationists, using my own words, use this as a justification not to waste the time and effort with integration because poor kids of color were a lost cause, because integrated schools cannot close the gaps that started at home. I wasn't alive in the 1960s, but I suspect that the report was commissioned to make the case for integration, not against it, especially since progress on integration was slow following the 1954 ruling in the Brown versus Board of Education case that declared the doctrine of separate but equal was unconstitutional, and that state-sanctioned segregation of public schools was a violation of the 14th Amendment. Now, if you believe that schools and teachers couldn't make a difference because we couldn't change a scholar's family, you wouldn't be sitting here. Heck, if I believed that, I wouldn't have committed my life to ensuring no child's circumstance limits their potential. The reality that many pro-segregationists try to gloss over is that all of these other factors like teacher quality, peer influence, integration, and the amount of resources a school had access to did matter. Yes, family background mattered most, but the other elements mattered too. In fact, decades of research have shown that the experience and quality of the teacher in a classroom is the single largest influencing factor on scholar achievement at the school. Not the amount of money the district spends per pupil, the resources or lack of resources in the classroom, the charming school principal, or the decorated superintendent. The experience and quality of the teacher. As someone who clung onto the belief that all scholars deserve a right to a high-quality education, I focused my time and attention on the factors we can control, like supplemental resources to close learning gaps, placing more high-quality educators in high-need schools, instead of focusing on things that are outside of our control, like who a child is born to and their circumstances at home. Time and time again, we've seen scholars globally rise up from the most difficult financial and familial situations, defy the odds, and make incredible contributions to mankind. Genius and potential do not discriminate. They're not partial to a person's skin color or family of origin. As educators, we're called out of a sense of obligation to find and cultivate that genius wherever it may be. When working in low-income, disadvantaged communities, it's particularly important to understand Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Maslow's hierarchy of needs was created during World War II, when humanistic psychologist Abraham Maslow was working with refugees who had fled their homes and were struggling to meet their basic needs. He realized that people's needs are not just physical, but also emotional and psychological. Maslow introduced this theory in his 1943 paper titled A Theory of Human Motivation in the journal Psychological Review. The model suggests that humans have 5 basic needs arranged like a pyramid. These needs are, starting from the bottom, physiological needs, basic survival needs like food, water, shelter, and sleep, safety needs, feeling secure and safe from danger, threats, and chaos, love and belonging needs, feeling loved, accepted, and connected to others, esteem needs, having self-esteem, confidence, and feeling respected by others, and self-actualization needs, reaching your full potential and fulfilling your purpose in life. The theory suggests that we generally move up this pyramid as our lower level needs are met. In other words, you can't focus on feeling good about yourself and esteem need if you're hungry, because you haven't fulfilled physiological need. Now, I'm not going to let you leave here without knowing that Maslow's hierarchy of needs isn't fraught with criticism, because it is. And I'm going to share some of the more meaningful ones. But despite the critiques, the intention still remains. Here's the top 3. First, there's limited empirical evidence. Maslow's primarily based his theory on observations and biographical analysis, not rigorous scientific research. This lack of empirical data makes it difficult to definitively prove the hierarchy's accuracy. Second, there's a cultural bias. Although Maslow came up with the theory working with refugees, the studies were based on Western middle-class individuals. Critics argue it might not translate well to different cultures where community or survival needs might take precedence over self-actualization. Lastly, the rigid order. The theory suggests a step-by-step progression up the pyramid. Critics argue that needs can overlap and fluctuate. For instance, someone might seek social connection, like love and belonging, even if they have unmet physiological needs. While I hate to make generalizations and perpetuate stereotypes, in low-income schools, many scholars experience the debilitating effects of poverty. There is the more obvious impact, like scholars coming to school having skipped meals because there wasn't enough food, lacking sleep because they were transient or didn't have a place to sleep the night before, and even wearing worn-out clothes that haven't been washed in days. Those are obvious. And you can imagine why it might be hard to focus when your belly is rumbling, or how challenging it might be to keep your eyes open when you haven't slept all night. But consider this scenario. In one of our early classes, I had an educator come to me and tell me about a second grade scholar who would get to class and immediately take off their sneakers. It happened every day without failure. The scholar also loved to run around, so they'd take off their sneakers and run around in their socks. Not knowing any better, the educator got really frustrated with the second grader and merely suspended him. It wasn't until she asked the scholar why he was doing it. Every day, she realized she had completely misinterpreted the situation. See, the sneakers he wore to school every day didn't fit. They were too small, and his mother didn't have money at the time to purchase him a new pair. Imagine having to wear sneakers every day that are 2 sizes too small, and the kind of pain and soreness it would create for you. After that walk to school, you'd be eager to get your sneakers off too. For scholars, especially younger ones, their behavior is often their primary mode of communication. This is a super important point, so I'm going to reiterate it again. Behavior is often their primary mode of communication. When scholars, especially younger ones, have an unmet need or a frustration and they don't know how to verbally communicate it, they will often physically communicate it through their behavior and actions. As educators, we have the privilege of getting scholars to a place where they can self-actualize. By building relationships with our scholars, they'll feel more comfortable sharing their physiological needs, so we can figure out if we need to find a way to get them a nap or a small snack to start their day. The relationship also creates opportunities for us to thoughtfully encourage and empower our scholars. Understanding and applying Maslow's hierarchy of needs helps us create an environment where every scholar feels valued, supported, and ready to learn. By meeting their basic and psychological needs, we pave the way for them to reach their full potential.